Okay, good morning. We're continuing Yain Nesach, Kuf Lamed Bet. So we're going to start with Seif Aleph. I'm just going to start out, with one question that, thanks to Rav Gershom Kagan asked last week, and Reb Oliver Friedman from our Chabura. So he also both asked, what happens if you get a bottle of wine, a non-kosher bottle of wine? And right, stam yenam, regular case of real stam yenam, it's mamash aser, midarabanan, stam yenam. Can you now re-gift? You got it as a gift from someone. Can you re-gift it now to a non-Jew? So we learned stam yenam is aser behana. You can't even get any benefit. So can you re-gift it? So Oliver pointed out that he and his brother-in-law had a machlokas. One thought it was mutter, one thought it was aser. One of them is Ashkenazi, one of them is Sephardic. Let's see if that has anything to do with it. And it reminds me of a story. Once I got a bottle of wine that I wanted to give as a gift, to re-gift it, a stam yenam, to one of my employees, and a non-Jew. And when I opened up the trunk of my SUV, so it rolled out and fell onto the floor and broke. I'm not saying that has any bearing on the halacha, but okay. I'll explain to you also why it's somewhat relevant, because then there was an element of rotze b'kiyumo, and I already told the assistant, I'm giving you a bottle of wine. And as we were looking, we saw, as I opened up the car, we saw the bottle roll out and smash to the floor. And then it was like, now do I owe you another bottle of wine? So let's see. So I think we saw pretty clearly that halachically, according to the Ramah, and so should be certainly at least according to Ashkenazim, that nowadays, since when they make wine, the owners, we can generally assume, are not doing Yei Nesach anymore. So therefore the Ramah holds, right, talking about Christians, then it would only be an Isser of Shtia. It's never going to be Asr Midarabana now. I mean, generally, it's not going to be Asr Bahana nowadays. So therefore, it's only an Isser of Shtia, and there's no question whatsoever. It's 100% mutter. What about according to the Shulchan Aruch? So, simple reading of the Shulchan Aruch, it should definitely be Asr, because he holds Stam Yenam. Generally, Muslims and atheists are not running most of the wineries, but again, it depends. If it's I don't know if it's permitted, but if it's a Muslim winery or an atheist winery, so then it would only be Asr b'shtia as well, wouldn't be a problem. But generally, I think we assume your general bottle of non-kosher wine is by someone who, I believe the robe would be Christian, and therefore it would be Asr behana according to the Shulchan Aruch. So if it's Asr behana, are you allowed to give it as a gift to a non-Jew? So certainly you can't sell it, but can you give it as a gift? So the three main problems that could come up is lot tachanim, giving a gift to a non-Jew. Rotze b'kiyumo, there is a Isser derabanan of wanting Yei Nesach to stay in existence. And tovas hana'a, of getting benefit. Even when you give a gift for free, you are still receiving some kind of benefit in return. Now the guy owes you a favor. So the guy is owing you something, so you're benefiting from now the guy owes you some kind of a favor in return, and therefore there could be an Isser of Isser Hana. So regarding Lot Tachanim, so there's two reasons why it may be mutter. Number one, generally, or many hold, that if you're giving a gift to a neighbor, an employee, someone who's is gonna owe you a favor, or gonna be now is gonna work for you even harder because you did something nice to him. There's no isser of lo tachanim. Lo tachanim is it's a free gift of making extra kindness between neighbors. Not neighbors, a non-Jew, when you're giving a gift to a non-Jew when you're not receiving anything in return. Another reason why it might be a mutter and not a problem of lo tachanim, because many say there's only an isser of lo tachanim if you're losing something, you're losing value, and you're giving it to a non-Jew. Here we're talking about isser hana, so you're not losing anything. And if you're losing nothing, some say there's no isser lo tachanim whatsoever. Okay, we mentioned the concept of rotze b'kiyumo, and we're going to see that coming up soon. So I believe, I didn't see this mafresh, so I don't know 100%, but I believe there's only an issue, an isser derabanan of rotze b'kiyumo with yein nesach, because yein nesach is doma to avodah zara, and therefore chazal are osir. But our case is stam yenam. So I'm not aware that there's an issue of rotze b'kiyumo by stam yenam.
Is it rotze b'kiyumo?
Yeah, we'll see it soon. It's coming up. I doubt today, but it's coming up very soon. Tovas hana. Now, what about getting benefit? So perhaps it's okay, and I don't know for sure. Perhaps it's okay if you tell the goy, I am not, this item, it's usher for me, it's forbidden for me to benefit. But instead of throwing it in the garbage, I'm giving it to you because I don't want to waste it. You don't owe me anything, but I'm just giving it to you. So I don't have a definite knowledge either way, but perhaps it's okay. Maybe someone else can enlighten us. And finally, there's always the concept we mentioned of sveik sveika. If just throwing it out there, I'm not no psaks over here, but according to Sephardic halacha, it may be mutter, perhaps, because maybe halacha is like the Rama, and you have other issues that might make it mutter. But simply put, it's definitely more problematic for someone Sephardic, that's for sure. Okay.
In what you want to say about this, I'll say that.
Thanks. Okay, so let's start inside. Kuf Lamed Bet, Seif Aleph. Here, okay, so now you don't want to get any benefit from Yei Nesach, right? Yei Nesach, we said, is Aser Behana. So what happens? Goy Oved Elilim Shenaga Biyayin Shelanu. So we're talking about our personal wine. That right now you have kosher wine. Now, but he came and he touched it. He did something to it that made it Aser Behana. Right, again, this is according to the Shulchan Aruch, not according to the Rama nowadays. So a non-Jew touches the wine, he makes it Aser Behana. Afapi she'asor behana, mutar likach damav me'oto hagoy she'asro. You can now go to the goy and say, you just touched my wine, and here, let me give it to you, but please pay me in return, because I'm giving you good wine. Whether you did it on purpose or by mistake, makes no difference. The Shach says that. So anyways, the goy, he damaged your wine by touching it. Now he made it. It has no value for you. It's Aser Behana. So you can go to him and say, here, take the wine, but give me the value for it. And you're allowed to take that money, and that money is 100% mutter, because you're not doing this. You're only getting the money in return, not because you're selling the wine, because he's giving you money for his damage. And that's mutter. It already became aser. It wasn't an exchange of one for the other at the same time. You weren't selling it, and now the transfer of isra hana goes on to the money. He's just paying you back right now for the damages after the fact.
So is it if you manufacture the wine, to pay you the amount of cost to manufacture it?
You're a loss. So whatever he pays you, whatever you can get out of him to return your hezek. Mutar likach damav me'oto hagoy she'asro, o oto hagoy yimkarenu v'yitain damav leYisrael. Or the non-Jew can take the wine from you, go sell it in a store, and then whatever he gets in return, that money he gives to you. Maybe a little bit less for his tircha, whatever, but that's not the point. The issue over here we're talking about is the money, mutter, aser. The money is 100% mutter. Because what he's giving you is not really an exchange for the item. He's just paying you back his chov, that he owes you for the damages. However, but now, let's say you're holding on to, you have this bottle of wine that's open, or this barrel, whatever, and the goy touched it. He made it aser behana. And now that goy leaves. He's out of the picture. Now you're stuck with this barrel of wine That's asr behana. What can you do? If you go and try and bring it to sell to a non-Jew, what you're doing is you're selling a perfect exchange of your isser hana for money. So im natan lo hamaot kodem she'itin lo Yisrael yain hamaot asurim behana. So if you sell it and he gives you the money first, and you sell it. And when you sell it, the goy is giving you the cash, he's giving you the money, whatever it is, and that money is for that wine. So that's going to when he gives you the money, ma'ot konos. We're talking about a non-Jew. Again, when you do hagba or hand over money, that's the full kinyan either way. So he's giving you the money, and that money is in a complete exchange, and therefore that money becomes aser behana. It transfers over. So you don't sell it like that. But when you sell it to the goy, and you tell him, here, take the barrel, take the bottle of wine, and then he takes it. So now he owns it, and that was the kinyan. Now, after the fact, a minute later, a second later, an hour later, whatever, a day later, whatever it is, now the goy owes you money for this sale. So now, and now the goy is giving you the cash, the money. So then it happened after the fact, and he's like paying you back, almost like a loan type of thing. Now he's paying you back. It's not a complete exchange. So then yesh misha omer shafa bishalabal yain shemacharo asurim ba'ana lacherim mutar. So then he says, since you're doing this as a Chazal gave a knas. Technically, it's not mamash aser with this kind of delayed exchange in this order. So then, it's only aser knas for the one who sold it, because you shouldn't. We don't want you selling this wine. Try and get it back from the one who ruined it. But for anybody else, technically it's a mutter, and there's no kanas, so therefore there's no problem. And then Haga just reminds us what we said before, this only applies to non-Jews who are still doing Nisach Hayayin nowadays. Nowadays, it's only Aser B'Shtia, so there's no issues over here of reselling it. Okay? As far as making business, that's another story we'll come to. But just for the sake of individual barrels and bottles to not lose your money, there's no problem whatsoever. All right, let's do bet. Bet is how to sell kosher wine to a non-Jew. Okay, because you want to be careful when you're selling it, you don't make it aser in the process, and then it becomes aser behana in the process, and then you can't benefit from the money. So we have to be a little bit careful because we're dealing, let's say, an open bottle of wine, and you have to be, it's like playing with fire a little bit. So how do we do it? Yisrael shemachar yeno lenochri. A Jew wants to sell his bottle of wine to a non-Jew. So pasak ad shelo mashach. So what you want to first do is make sure before the goy gets to the wine, before he can touch it and pick it up, make sure you make a complete agreement. What are you doing? What's the price? Okay, how much, whether it's per liter or per bottle, whatever it is, what's the price? So then, damav mutarim. So then when you sell it, the wine's going to be 100% mutar. Shemisha pasak samcha daito umisha mashach kana. So what happens? As long as you make an agreement and you know what amount you're selling it for, so then the deal is solid, and everyone has smichas das, everyone agrees to the deal, and then when the goy lifts up and takes the bottle of wine, even if it's open, it's not a problem, because before he touched it, they already had, they agreed on everything, and as he lifts it up, that's the kinyan. Again, you can give money, that's one option first. The other option is he can lift it, once you make an agreement, he can lift it up. As he first lifts it up, it's not aser yet, only with time, not much time, but with time it's going to be aser. But initially, but basically when you're lifting it up, I believe you're kona it before, you are kona it before it can be reached in Isser, the level of Isser of Stam Yenam, I don't know if it happens simultaneously or a few seconds before, but either way, it's not a problem. It doesn't. There's no isser created until he already owns it. So I'm not sure if there's enough kamina which way you look at it, but it can't become yein nesach until he already owned it. And when he already owned it, it's the sale already, the sale itself, and the money that he owes you for it already happened before it became stam yinam or maga shelo. V'yayin nesach eino nas ad sheyagia bo. So therefore, yein nesach it doesn't until he touches it. Nimtza.
Touches the wine or touches the bottle?
So. Um, Touching the bottle from the outside for sure is not going to make it usher. The only time it could be usher is if you touch it. If you touch it, and or if you're doing shikshach, you're shaking it. I'm not sure about just lifting it up. I believe not, but we'll see.
Meaning, is he saying that until you touch the wine? Not for sure. Or is he mean it's the bottle and how's he mean the wine?
Let's see if it gets a little more clear. So it's not going to become yein nesach until you touch it. Nimtza bishat mechira, when you sold it hayal mutter. At the time of the mechira itself, it was mutter. Aval im mashach hagoy hayayin ad shelo pasak damav. Now let's say the goy. It's going to be. Okay, again. So if when the goy takes the bottle of wine or the barrel of wine, they didn't agree to an amount. So then asurim. So then that wine becomes asur hana'a. Right, achelo pasak. Damav asurim. So if you didn't agree to how much you're paying per bottle or how much you're paying per liter, whatever you're using, then the money, the wine and the money are both going to become asur behana, shaharei lo samcha daito, because you didn't have in mind how much, and therefore it wasn't a complete sale. Afa pisha mashach, even though he pulled it, he can always go back, and he can always say, I changed my mind. We never agreed on a price, so here, take it back. So therefore, there's no complete sale. The sale didn't happen just by doing hagabah until you decided on a price. And once it enters the reshut of the goy, and he's lifting it up, ein hayisrael nizar bo v'yesh lachush shenaga. So the Rama clarifies that I think we're talking about you're afraid that you actually touch the goy is touching the wine. Touching the barrel itself is not going to make it aser, but the fact that now it's in his possession, he might touch the wine. So again, part of the iser is only on a level of darabanan, as a knas, as we mentioned, but either way, it becomes aser. Aser for you to have the money, and aser for you to have the wine.
So if you're really watching very, very carefully.
So I think that it doesn't matter. Because this case is when you're doing the sale and you already give it to him to pick it up, that's the halacha. Eina yisrael nizar bo v'yesh lachu shenaga. V'nimtza keshenaga, and so therefore, when the non-Jew touches the barrel or picks it up, adayin lo samcha daito likach v'ne'asar hayayin b'negiato. So as soon as he So as soon as he touches the wine or picks up the barrel, it becomes aser. Again, it's only going to be yein nesach if you do shikshach, but there's still a level over here of aser midarabanan. V'harei kemocher stam yenam, and so the halacha is given that it's like you're selling stam yenam. That's aser behana. Okay. Now, when are we talking about that? Okay, we're gonna. This portion is here. Let's read, but this next portion is only the Shach points out in Yud It's more of a lechatchila situation. Here, let's keep reading. Kishamadar hayisrael lekelav. When the lekli shel goy she'ein bo kevet yain. When do we say you can do this? It's if you measure it out. If you do, and when it's still in the Jewish cup, the owner his cup, his barrel, and you decide how much it is, or a completely empty cup of wine of a non-Jew. About imadad lekli hagoy sheyesh bo kevet yain. Kli Yisrael Shibiyat Hagoy. Menaner Hakli. Well, the issue over here is before you give it to the goy, you have to make sure that it's in a Jewish a cup that doesn't have any remnants of non-kosher wine in there, and you decide how much it is before it gets to his possession. Because, let's keep reading. V'haya goy menane rakli, ima yamunach bekarka o shahaya ochzel biyado be'avir, da'az al korchahu menane detzarich likach adamim v'yachar kach yimdod. So it's important that you make the agreement of the wine before you measure it, if it's going to be in the goy's hands. If I'm trying to think here. You have to make the kinyan, the smichas das, the agreement has to be before it's in the goy's possession. And if you're doing it based on, if you decide how much liters, then that's okay too. But if you're going to measure it first with the goy, in the goy's cup, and then you're going to decide on it, so then there's a problem if there's remnants of wine in the goy's cup, or if the goy is holding up the cup while you're measuring. Because what's happening is in this scenario, is you're measuring it in his cup before you have a full agreement.
So, a kevet yain means leftover wine?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that holds the wine back. It's not like remnants of wine, right?
Yeah. Okay, but again, what the Shach points out, it's as long as you make a full agreement and you know exactly how much you're selling it for per liter or whatever you're doing ahead of time, then it's okay. But yeah, but it's okay. Okay, let's go on. Haga mio imadad lakli shal goy sheish ba kevet yain she'enu ne'esarak mikoach ta'arovet me'at yain shahya b'kli b'diavad kula matar behana chutz midimei me'at yain shahya b'kli. Also b'diavad, if there was a little bit mixed in, then all you have to do is just, and you want to sell whatever's in there, you can sell the whole thing minus the value of the little bit that was there. It doesn't osir the whole thing, it's just that portion that was originally usr stays usr, and that's the amount you have to reduce from the sale. V'afilu lechatchila ino asur, rak keshahaya me'at me'ayayin bepi hakli shel goy denasar yayin miyad. And also that's when you pour it in, because as you pour into the cup, if there's drops of wine in there, it might touch those drops on the way down as you're pouring it in before you sold it, and when your wine enters the cup of the goy, there's no kinyan yet until the goy lifts it up. But if he's holding it as you poured it in, or it's in his chatzer, or as you're pouring it in, and even if it's in the Jew's possession, you tell him, I'm giving you this area of the land where the cup is sitting during the kinyan, so then it's mutter, because as you pour it into the kli, immediately the non-Jew owns it. And therefore, and therefore it never becomes asr until until after the kinyan is chal.
Until it touches the wine at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it touches the leftover wine at the bottom.
Yeah.
It doesn't become usher at the time of the communion.
Right, it does. It becomes asr afterwards. It becomes asr as it enters the walls, the airspace. It becomes the kinyan ischal, and therefore, when it touches the wine and it mixes, it's already mutter. V'chein im, or in its possession. V'chein im madado agoy v'gebia techila liknoto kol mutter. If the goy measures it and he lifts it up in order to buy it, everything is mutter. D'harei kenao techila kodem shamadad. Because if the agreement is whatever he's lifting up and whatever he's pointing to, he's going to keep. It's not like he can't go back anymore. As he's lifting it up, then as he's pouring it in and measuring it, he is automatically being kona. If that's the agreement, then there's no problem. Aval im lo yigbiu madad dino kishar yain haba mikoach goy. But if he didn't lift it up and he's just measuring it, so then it's like any case of yain that comes from the koach of the goy, as we learned in Kuf Chav Hey, v'kol zelo mari elo b'yameim, and the Ramah points out again, all these issues don't apply nowadays. Shehayu hagoyim menaschim ve'osrim b'hana b'maga'an. That used to be they made asr b'hana. B'zman hazeh she'en hagoyim menaschim ve'en osrim b'maga'an rak b'shtia b'chol inyan mutter b'hana. So nowadays it's always mutter b'hana v'chein haminad pashat linkor yayin l'goyim ve'en makpidim b'kol elu adinim. And all these halachas we don't worry about nowadays.